Brooklyn is back in a big way, and the man sitting in front of me is a major leader in that effort in the Brooklyn Renaissance. His name is Bruce Ratner. He is a developer of real estate. He is the majority owner and developer in the Barclays Center, and he's also 20% owner of the Brooklyn Nets, which will hit the floor this fall, 55 years after the Dodgers left Brooklyn.
55 long, hard Brooklyn years, yes.
And there's obviously a lot of excitement around this, because this was a city that at one point had been written off.
Yes.
What did you see in Brooklyn? And take me through the things that you did before the Barclays Center to help give it a jump start.
I saw so many things in Brooklyn. First of all, it had a legacy and a history that's unparalleled in American history. So many great Americans, whether they be authors or business people or actors, actresses, athletes, came out of Brooklyn. Just so much of America came out of Brooklyn. So it had a great legacy and a great brand, if you will, in my opinion. A lot of people didn't think that then. Second, it had a great infrastructure, fantastic subway system, probably the best in the city. And then it had some beautiful, beautiful neighborhoods that were made out of brick that could not deteriorate. Beautiful neighborhoods, beautiful parks. And so it had all the makings of a great city, which it once had been. It had all the bones, if you will, of a great city. I'd worked for the city for 7 years.
Right, in the Koch administration.
Yeah, Koch administration and the Lindsay administration too. And I knew the city very well. And I always, coming from where I came from, even then, Brooklyn looked like a great place, and I just fell in love with the place. And I thought that it could be the next business center, downtown business center, after Wall Street and Midtown, that it could be a huge business center and a huge place for residential and art. I always thought of it as the left bank of New York City.
And so you went in with an office development, and then you started also with apartment building. Take me through that period.
It's hard to almost believe. In 1985, when we started, I built the first office building in downtown Brooklyn in over a quarter of a century. The crime rate was 4 times the numbers that you have today in 1985. But there were bullet holes in the windows of our buildings, which scared the tenants.
Of course, yeah.
You know, we had big security issues. It was very difficult. People, I would start every presentation I would make, I'd say, Brooklyn is the greatest downtown in America. And my tenants would just laugh, what are you talking about?
And what were the characteristics that you saw in Brooklyn that gave you the confidence that you would be able to come in and do what's happening today?
At the end of the day, in the beginning of the day, it's the people. It was a very vibrant community. It wasn't a wealthy community, but it was vibrant. New ideas, new blood, young people moving in, even in those difficult times. And that really was the difference between, say, Cleveland and Detroit. We had huge amounts of immigration in this city. 40% of the city is immigrants with new ideas, and it keeps us all going and so on. At the end of the day, New York City is a special place in this world, and there aren't many places like that. So.
And of course, the Brooklyn Nets, a big part of your story.
Sure.
You were majority owner of the Nets from, was it 2004 to?
Till 2 years ago.
Okay, till 2 years ago, 2010, and
right.
You sold part of the team partly to get the deal done.
Correct,
for the Barclays
that's right.
Center.
Absolutely. The world crashed, the economy crashed. We could not get loans. This was done against all odds. And we needed a partner to help us do it.
How did you get JayZ involved?
So what happened was someone had said, had told me about JayZ might have an interest in investing in sports. So I was able to get a meeting with him, and he met me out in Brooklyn, and we walked over to the site, and we talked a little bit. Then he came back to my office, we talked some more. We basically metaphorically put our hands out and shook hands that day. It was like one day, we just got along and it made sense.
What was it that drew you to him? There were a lot of people that you could have called to say, hey, you should become an investor. What was it about JayZ?
The person who said he was interested maybe in investing in a team, knew him reasonably well, and said he was a very decent man, that he was good at business, that he would make a good partner, and that obviously he had huge celebrity status, and that would be very helpful to us to have somebody with his kind of celebrity status being involved in the team. What I didn't know was, would he be a terrific partner or not? And that had nothing to do with rap or anything, but you never know about a partner. And the second thing was that he was so good at business and his judgment was so good That's what I didn't know. I thought, okay, he'd be a nice celebrity and he'd be a nice name, but it turned out to be he contributes in an incredible way to this day, whether it be logo, whether it be judgments about what the interior looks like of the arena, whether it be basketball decisions, whether it be almost everything. He weighs in on a huge amount, and he's spot on so much, even what artists to have in the arena.
How are you going to win? I mean, you've got some key personnel decisions that have been made. You've seemed to build a great roster in the past 3 years. Will this be a winning team?
This is a winning team, not will be. It will be a winning team, let me say that. It's going to be a winning team.
And
we've got a very good roster.
Which personnel decisions excite you the most?
Darren's decision to say was really critical. That was really the linchpin, I think, that made sure. Obviously, the Joe Johnson, tremendously important. Billy's got a very good eye for talent. I've always said that, I talk to Billy about what he does and who he thinks is good. And the period of time that I've known him, I think he has a good eye for talent. It starts with the GM and it starts with the ownership, and I have to give a lot of credit to Mr. Prokhorov because I'm very involved in the business side of the team. I'm not as involved in the basketball.
What is your relationship with him like?
It turns out, like the JayZ partnership, it's one of the best partnerships I've ever had, and I've had a lot of partnerships.
Are there things that you've been able to help him with since you were the majority owner?
I think on the basketball side, in the beginning, giving him some guidance. You come into it, it's different being a fan versus an owner. So many different ways. How to deal with the GM, there's a lot of different, what the players are like, how to deal with the players and so on. In the beginning, I think I was helpful, but honestly, they being the Russians and Mikhail Prokhorov in particular, they caught on very, very quickly. And they work with Billy, and honestly, they do 90%. I mean, they ask, during the year, Billy would call me and say, this is what we want to do, what do you think? Yeah, okay, but Billy and the Russians have done a terrific job, I must say.
Is Dwight Howard officially out of the running now that you've signed Lopez, or is it a possibility still that
we have something called a league, and we have something called I'm not allowed to talk about that, so I can't talk about players on other teams.
Okay, and you mentioned the difficulty that you had. You embarked upon the Barclays Center idea in 2003, and then things really started to pick up. 2008, we were hit with this financial crisis. There were lawsuits involved, all kinds of aggravation. Did you ever think about giving up?
I never thought about giving up, ever, 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 ever. If you ask me a different question, if you ask me, were there periods of time where I doubted that it would happen? Yes, there were times I did not think it would happen. I never thought about giving up. That word is not easily in my vocabulary. Never has been. You can't be a developer of large-scale projects and have the word give up in your vocabulary. You can have words like, I think it may not happen and I better do this. So I did have questions whether it would happen. November, December, 2008, after the crash, after Lehman, and there was no financing available, our company's stock went way down. I really didn't think I thought it might not happen.
But there are deals that happen where you get in maybe a third through in the deal and you say maybe this was not the right decision.
Yes, there are.
But this obviously wasn't that deal. Did you envision this kind of hysteria?
I didn't, honestly. I could say I did, but I didn't. I thought we built a lot of big projects. We built this project Metrotech in downtown Brooklyn, which is probably about the size of Atlantic Yards. So we built very, very big projects in the city. And without the kind of controversy and litigation that this had, Times Square, we built the whole south side of 42nd Street where the movie theaters are and so on. That took years, was hard to do. But that being said, I didn't expect the amount of litigation, the amount of controversy. So that did surprise me, yes. I thought, the usual stuff. We'd get, some community opposition, some community for, some community against. But it was much more than I anticipated.
The thing that really strikes me about you is you've been portrayed both as a good guy and a bad guy because there's concern about gentrification whenever a developer comes in.
Sure, of course.
But you've done things that have helped to mitigate that. For instance, the tickets, there's going to be 2,000 seats that are $15. And then there's going to be 50% of the seats will be $55.
Right.
And, with your housing, you're actually making an element of it affordable housing along with the luxury. Why was that important?
I come out of a activist background, honestly. Both parents were, sort of socially involved. And I worked for the city and taught for 12 years where I only did public interest. I was a consumer advocate, and that's my background. That's who I am. I am that. I am about, making sure that people have jobs. The people have jobs. 2,000 jobs are going to be at that arena.
And there are 32,000 people that have applied.
32,000 people that applied. So it was important from day one that there be 2,000 tickets at least that were inexpensive. It's important to me that when I announced this project, I said there's going to be over 2,000 units of affordable housing. No pressure, nobody. I would not build a project of 6,000 plus units unless there was significant affordable component. Metrotech was about jobs, keeping jobs in New York City. So that's kind of, one of the things, you get people that say a lot of things. You have to know who you think you are.
You're sounding like a politician now.
Oh, God, no, I'm not a politician.
You're going to run for office?
No, yeah, right. No,
well, you'd be in a good position to do it.
I have no interest in running for politics or whatever. So, but to be honest, I care about that stuff. Our company is really what I would call a civic development company. We do primarily civic projects. Okay. They really have to have some civic component, honestly.
Okay, so complex. Conscious capitalism.
I would call it that, I guess.
Did this start once you got in and you started, with your big success as a business person, or was it really as a young person?
No, it started in law school. I was involved during the Vietnam War in the protest movement heavily. Then instead of going to a big law firm, I went to Columbia Law School, and many of the people from Columbia Law School would go to the big firms. I didn't do that. I worked in the Lindsay administration on essentially poverty law issues. I taught public interest law at NYU Law School for 5 years, and then I was Consumer Affairs Commissioner of New York City, and I was all consumer stuff and helping people. So it didn't, and actually from day one, the first building I built, which was in Brooklyn, I insisted that we have an affirmative action program for contractors and workers, and we set goals. I don't remember what they were anymore, but like 20% of the workers have to be minority and 20% of the contractors. That was unheard of then. And every project that I've done since then, we set a goal, we have a monitor, and it's amazing what we've done. And quietly, that's not something I talk about. It had to be that way. I will only build a union. Unions have made America's middle class. And that's not popular to say among a lot of people in my business.
A changing and competitive landscape, is that becoming more difficult to have that opinion?
It's not hard to have the opinion. It's harder maybe sometimes to
actually
do business
integrate it into your business.
But I integrated. Our business is about jobs. Our business is about affirmative action. Our business is about, in the case of the arena, tickets that are reasonably priced and so on. So anyhow, I know I get people say just the opposite. That's okay. That doesn't. One thing is, over the years, it comes with the territory, and I've learned particularly over this period of time, which hasn't been easy. And I used to be afraid if my name was, if said something negative, and I had been in the paper a lot when I worked for the city. But it was all good stuff. Now, so now all of a sudden there's negative stuff. So at first it was a little difficult, and then I finally said, you know what, I just have to do what I think is right. Maybe it's not right, but I think it's right, and the people around me think it's right.
But having this background in politics and being able to navigate the political landscape has had to help you in going through with projects like this.
Yes, and part of, issue of when you work with government the way our company does, it's heavily on a staff level. It's not really on a, I call the mayor, I call the governor. That's not what happens. Our company works a lot on a staff level with government agencies. That's our business because we have to get building permits, everything. We do large scale projects. So it's really more about working on a staff level. And on that level, we work in a very unpolitical way. We work just on the merits. I think, it's a merit thing.
With the Barclays Center, you're going to be bringing in a lot of business to the community. 200 dates set already. JayZ has 8 sold-out concerts already.
Correct.
Tell me what else you have going.
Oh my goodness, we have so much going. You name it,
You have Oscar de la Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions
for boxing.
Coming in.
We have college basketball. We have circus. We have ice. We've got Bocelli if you like more opera kind of stuff. You've got, for me, for the old timers, you got Dylan. Half people don't even know what I'm talking about. They think it's a candy store.
You really have Dylan.
Yeah, Dylan's coming. Yep.
And you doubled down on Brooklyn. And your bet was
and
right.
I'd triple down. I would triple down on it.
Okay.
It's the best place on earth.
Your bet was right. What keeps you up at night? What is your fear when you look into the future about this development? What could go wrong? What do you worry about?
Oh, what do I worry about? I'm worried. I want everything to go. This sounds. First, I don't have huge anxieties of that sort. My anxieties are usually about family, friends, and people. That's what keeps me up at night. All that stuff. The stuff that what really keeps all of us. It's all about our relationships and our jobs. Meaning the boss, not the boss. That's what really keeps us up all night. Really, really. But what's the stuff that within what I do? It's it's make sure that the thing is successful, that people attend the concerts. I mean, that sounds like a given. Make sure people attend the concert. Make sure the team wins. Just making sure it's really successful. And
you've got to feel
worth it.
Somewhat helpless.
I feel like it's there, But you know what? It's like we still got to. It's like a Broadway play. It's got all the right pre-play reviews. I still got to open that door. So you have anxiety about that. I want it to go just right. We don't want to have, fights in the arena, around the arena, like sometimes these concerts have. They can be anywhere. Could be Phoenix, Arizona. So I want everything to go smoothly. I want people to be happy. So I have open night anxiety. That's what I got. I don't mean literally the open night. The kind of anxiety, that you have when you're opening a Broadway play, but a lot bigger.
But the investment that you have in the Brooklyn Nets and as a majority owner and developer of the Barclays Center are inextricably tied. And
They're
so
inextricably
would
tied.
you say that you're pretty well positioned if they win a championship?
Yeah, we're very well positioned if they win a championship. And they're, Mikhail Prokhorov predicted we'll win a championship. Now, you never can predict 100%, but I'm telling you, that guy, they have done a very good job. We have a very good start on getting there. We really do. And the other thing is it's the kind of partnership where everything's seamless. They work on the arena, we work on the sports. We help them sell tickets. They help us get acts. It's a great partnership. It's I go like this because it's like this, really.
And you have to get past LeBron. As a Cleveland guy, what are your feelings about him?
I can't talk about other players, right? Did I say that?
Yes.
Look, LeBron's a great player. He's a great player. He disappointed my home city in a kind of way that was upsetting to me, even though I am a Nets fan. But I think he knows that too, and I think he's working hard to change that image. And he's a great player. He's just a terrific player, and we have to respect that. We have to respect the discipline and work that goes into a great athlete. Despite everything, we need to respect it because that's a lot of respect for that. And I've got a lot of respect for him.
Maybe your Nets will figure out a way to inch him out.
We'll be good even if he's good. How's
right.
that? We'll beat him even if he's good. How's that?
Okay. Well, I want to thank you,
Thank
Bruce
you for
Ratner.
interviewing me. Thank
And good luck as you move forward.
Thank
Keep
you,
us
sir.
posted on everything with both the Nets and the Barclays Center and future investments, because I know there'll be many more coming down the line.
And I appreciate you.
Thank you. And with Bruce Ratner, I'm Lee Hawkins. We'll see you next time.
To start getting involved in small companies and start making those partnerships and relationships.
I'm not talking about what you're worth, but how much money you actually got in the bank.
Right. It's a big distinction.